Logie.
Mr Chair, and thank you for the call on this in the committee stages of the Veteran Support Bill. I just want to pick up on some of the points that have just been made by the Māori Party and the negotiation and how hard they've had to work to get the concessions from this government. And what a shame I think that is, because the evidence was pretty compelling that the committee heard, and I think a lot of the advice that the officials gave us actually supported the full extension of these provisions. And the feeling I had, at least, was that the government members on the committee were also, at least in their hearts, supportive of the full extension of these entitlements. So the fact that the Māori Party apparently have had to negotiate so hard to be able to get some gains, to get us almost there, but not quite there, to me just leaves the question of why? Why couldn't this government go all the way? Why hold out on the one point around the funeral payments on death? And I just don't understand it when we've heard that it's only about $7.4 million. I don't understand. Why is that a point to hold out on a negotiation when most of the people in this House, and I believe in their hearts, everyone on the committee, supported it? I don't understand why hold out. And when the point was made that, you know, it's not really about the money, it's about it should have been done before, has been one of the arguments that was brought up by this government that seems very weak to me. But I just want to make the point that actually the regulatory impact statement, we read that 28% of our war veterans will pass away in the next 5 years. And that will be most of the World War II veterans. And this is probably our last opportunity to deliver for those families that full recognition and this entitlement. And I just can't understand why this government is holding out on that point when it is such relatively a small amount of money. And I think it's been mentioned in this House that it is 0.00001% of total government spending that they are holding on to out of meanness, out of political pride, not to have caved into what was seen to then be an opposition request, rather than the fact that it was the Law Commission that recommended it, backed up by the New Zealand RSA. Really, this isn't about politics. This should not be about politics, and I can't understand how it's become about politics, because it is just about a just recognition. And while I'm on the record around being a pacifist and not wanting to glorify war, that for me is all the more reason to be able to offer whatever support we can to our war veterans who have been sent into these horrific environments, who have had to do things that none of us would ever want to do, and who have seen things that we would never want to see, and who have been harmed, whether that's physically or emotionally, and whose families also often bear the cost. And we heard very moving testimony through the select committee process from veterans as well as children of veterans who talked about growing up in households where the war was relived in their living rooms. If as a country we can't afford the cost of acknowledging the harm that this government has done, or governments have done, by sending people, then it is a very clear reason not to send people. If we can't afford to compensate for that, then we shouldn't be doing that. And I do also just want to mention, I'm not going to spend very much longer on this because it has been 7 years since this was sent to the Law Commission, and we definitely need to update this 1954 Act, and we need to do it as quickly as possible and by the end of this Parliament. I do... Thank you.
The Honourable Phil Goff.
Chairman, I listened very carefully to the explanation by the Maori Party as to why they've flip-flopped on their support for the